Definitely good tips for first timers. I would say make sure to wear comfortable shoes, although luckily the good news is there won't be as much walking this year as there is, as there has been in the past. Hydrate. Make sure to take time for your own self-care. Spend time with puppies and really think about the sessions and the people that you want to connect with. Right. I think that the magic that happens and the difference it will make for you will come from the little moments. And so it's potentially sitting down and having tea or coffee with someone kind of off to the corner, right? And really leaning into the conversation. I think that is what will make your experience memorable and impactful. Don't try to do everything. There's too many things to pick from, honestly. There's recordings of sessions. You could always watch them later. Right, lean into really having human conversations with the people that are in the room. I think that's going to lead to the most rewarding experience for you.
Hey, everybody, I'm Laurie Brudeman, and this is Punk Rock HR. In each episode, we take a realistic but slightly cynical approach to fixing work, bringing you raw and honest conversations with disruptors, innovators, and even random working people like you and me with one goal: to reshape the workplace as you know it. But sometimes we take a break from all that and talk about real life, like relationships and well-being and kids and animals. And along the way, we drop a few F-bombs too. Whether you're an HR professional trying to do the right thing, a leader looking to connect with their people, or just fascinated by workplace dynamics, this is your destination to fix work once and for all. On this episode, there's something special going on. My guest this week is Samara Jaffe. She's the co-founder and general manager of Transform, and that organization is hosting a conference called Transform 2024 in Las Vegas on March 12th and 13th. And Samara is on the show today to talk all about it, about the vendors you'll see, about the technology you'll learn about, but most importantly, about the conversations that are happening with really great people around the future of work. But that's not where the show begins and ends, because we also have a very special co-host, my friend, Josh Schwede. Now, Josh is a veteran of the HR technology industry, and he's helping me co-host today to really bring a richness and understanding to what's happening in the world of work and technology and what you can expect at this conference. So I'm super stoked to have two really great people on the show today. So if you're interested in learning about a new conference to you or hearing about really great HR technology and trends, well, sit back and enjoy this episode of Punk Rock HR. Hey, Samara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Laurie. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm so pleased you're here. And before we get started, we're going to talk about you and all the beautiful things that you're doing in this world to make it a better place. I want to introduce my co-host for the show, Josh. How are you? Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you're doing here?
What am I doing here? Hey, Laurie and Samara, awesome that you're here. Laurie invited me on to be a co-host this week, so I'm excited to be here. A long-time HR tech veteran and just a student of the space. I love this industry. I'm never leaving, and I believe that people are our biggest lever. So anytime we want to talk about that, I am all in.
Yeah, you have a little bit of news of your own. You want to talk about what's going on in your life right quick?
Yeah, so I founded a company called Spotlife a couple of years ago. We had a very fun run, but this has been a really tough economy, and we made a tough decision at the end of last year to shut it down. So we're going to be announcing that here shortly on LinkedIn, and some great work was done with an awesome team and an extended team, but we're moving on and all trying to make a better impact in this world. So,
well, you make a lovely impact in this world just by being and being born. I'm glad we're friends, and thank you for including me in the journey along the way. You know, you came on Punk Rock HR, on Groundhog Day, and talked a little bit about your journey as a founder, as a CEO, and I know that the journey isn't over for you, and you're now moving on to consulting because you're passionate about this industry, correct?
Yeah, I got some great advice from some other founders that went through something similar. They both told me the same thing and they didn't know each other. They said, don't go running to a full-time job, try and find some work. And so I just have been working with other founders and CEOs, helping them with go-to-market, kind of partner strategy, M&A strategy, and it's been super, super fulfilling. So yeah, I don't know what the future is going to hold, and that's actually pretty exciting. So we'll see what happens.
Well, the future holds you and me doing some podcasting
Hey,
today. I love
let's go.
it. Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, Samara, we are just so pleased to have you here today. As we get started, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you're all about?
Great question. Let's see. Who am I and what am I all about? So I would say I am a connector and a bridge builder really at heart. And so I never thought I'd end up in the world of events. I certainly don't come from an HR background. I'm really an entrepreneur and an operator at heart and have done a lot of different things over the years. But I think the thread that connects back to even when I was a child was that I love to bring different people together that could make a difference in each other's lives. So even, in elementary school, I would bring different friend groups together that would become great friends. And that really has been a thread throughout my life and career in everything I've done. And so I think it actually makes perfect sense. Now I just do that on the largest scale possible, right? Leveraging events and community to really bring people together that will make a difference in each other's lives, personally, professionally, and in their organizations. So that's just a little bit about me.
I love it. So, Samara, you and I had a chance to meet at my first visit to Transform when it was HR Transform a couple of years ago. Can you just maybe follow through on that thread a little bit? Like, what was it about your personal life and personal journey that motivated you as a founder to found Transform Media, and what it was when you started 6 years ago, but where it's at right now? Because it's going through a little bit of a transition, which is exciting.
Absolutely. So Transform was born originally as HR Transform back in 2018. And the motivation was that we saw an opportunity, a gap in the current conference landscape. So despite there being a lot of rich history and legacy of conferences in this industry, when we talk to practitioners, people leaders, particularly in the early days at hyper-growth mid-market organizations, what they told us was they didn't go to any other conferences, but that they were really hungry for community. So they were looking for opportunities to connect with each other, to share learnings, to commiserate, to have a sounding board, as well as to platform to discover new interesting technology solutions that would really advance their organizations. And so we saw an opportunity kind of in that space to create HR Transform. Years later, right, the vision always was that we wanted to create a community and an event that brought together the entire ecosystem. So not just HR leaders and vendors, but how do we bring together really all of the change makers that are making a difference in moving the industry forward? So that's business, C-suite executives, that's people leaders across all areas, that's investors, that's entrepreneurs, right? It's health benefits, brokers, it's health insurance payers, right? All of these organizations and change makers are who you need to bring together to have conversations that are going to change the now and next of work and are really going to advance how we think about the health and well-being of our global workforces. So as we have evolved, we did rebrand to drop the HR from the name. The name is now Transform, right, which I think is an important component of making sure that the whole ecosystem understands that this is really a place for them, right? It's a place for them to share their learnings, to connect with their peers, to kind of discover new ideas, to be challenged, to help catalyze innovation in the industry. And so fast forward to today, we're Transform. We're not just an event, we're really an ecosystem platform that brings all of these thought leaders together to foster learning, to create connections, and to drive the industry forward.
Well, Samara, I mean, the way you describe Transform is like the ideal way that anybody wants to experience a conference. And sometimes, quite honestly, there are a lot of conferences out there, right? And sometimes the way a conference is described versus how it shows up in real life, there's a gap. But what makes Transform, in your opinion, so special? How does it deliver on its promise? Can you tell us a story or describe it in a way that really shows that it's living up to the values it puts out there with the brand?
Hey there, I'm Tim Boris, host of the Working Well podcast, where business strategy meets human sustainability. If you're an executive, a leader, or change maker ready to ditch burnout, build thriving teams, and drive real results, this is your next must listen. Tune in on the Work Defined Network or at timboris.com/podcast.
Absolutely. Certainly, right. The proof is in the pudding, and, talking about it and experiencing it, can be different. I think in this case, they are one and the same. I think what makes it different and unique is that it also is really a community that's built by and for the people. So, we have spent hours, countless hours on conversations with all of the different audience segments to really understand what's important to them, to get their input. They are a critical component of how we build the program from an agenda perspective every year. They're a critical component of how we think about elevating the experience each year. So I think that's number one. Number two, in terms of the experience, it might just be little. It's probably a lot of little things together that make it feel very different. But at the core, I think it comes down to the people that are in the room. So at the end of the day, right, the people that you meet in the room, regardless of everything else, are what are going to determine the experience. And so having people who are really human first, people who are really leaning in to these conversations, to this change, right? You can feel that in the hallway. You can see the conversations happening all throughout the event, from the kickoff reception to outside the session rooms to in our experience pavilion. So I think it's about the people, about the conversations. There are also little things like we have puppies in the EXP, which is a little bit unique. We think about the EXP really as an experience pavilion. It's not just about exhibitors. It's about content. It's about fun. It's about music performances from people in the community. It's about art. And so all of those components come together, I think, to, different moments together create a really unique experience.
Samara, I want to just probe in on something you've been saying. The word community keeps coming out of your mouth. So I'm sure there's people on this podcast that have no idea what Transform is. Like, where would you point them? Like, how do they find out about this community? Can they join? Is it invite only? Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the event that's coming up.
So it's a good question, right? I think most people, when they talk about events, are like, it's an event, it's not a community. But that, I think, really is different here, not just because of how we're evolving the business, but based on how people experience it and the way that the community, right, the people who've attended in the past, the way that they actually talk about it. So, it was 3 days of magical connections. We really are more than just the conference now. So we are building an ecosystem platform that enables us to connect throughout the year, right, really meeting leaders where they are. And so kind of what's currently in the market is the conference. We launched an awards program last year. This is the second year of the awards program. We're recognizing innovative and transformative leaders, as well as organizations that are really advancing their people practices, and innovators launching new companies. In addition, we've launched a global effort creating chapters outside the US. We aim to have over 100 chapters, by the end of the year. These are opportunities to build and foster community locally, right? Whether it's in-person meetups or virtual events, right? Bringing people a way to connect with others that maybe can't make it to Vegas. In addition, we will be launching a community platform to enable everyone who attends Transform, right? And everyone who can't attend Transform in person, but wants to really be a part of this ecosystem, a way to engage in the future. So more to come on that, but there really are a lot of different channels to engage the community, right? That will together, I think, make it very evident that it's not just about a conference. It's about much more.
It was, Laurie, you and I have been to countless conferences before, right? I think when I had a chance to go to Transform 2 years ago, I felt like I had been missing out on something because everybody was like hugging and high-fiving in the hallway. And what Samara does a really good job at, these breakout sessions that they have, it's not just one person talking about a topic. It's usually a panel. And almost every panel I went to were all chief people officers. So she's somehow able to command a very senior audience, and they're all passionate about what they're doing, but people keep coming back year after year. So I felt like I had missed out. But man, fast forward to 2 years now, there's a lot going on, Samara. So like, what do you expect, based on what's happening in the marketplace and the trends? What do you think is going to be probably the most pivotal that are going to be talked about at Transform this year in 2024?
What I love about our program is we do touch on quite a lot of different topics, right, to appeal to all of our different audience segments. I think some of the key items, obviously, hot topics out there, and Gen AI is, top of mind for everyone. There certainly will be a number of sessions that are covering that, from a session around really kind of unpacking the impact of AI in HR with Joel Hellemark, the founder and CEO of Sauna, and Josh Bersin. We actually just announced that this morning. We'll be on the main stage at Transform. In addition, we have a number of sessions from thinking about ethical AI to talking about practical use cases and how do you actually foster adoption of AI in organizations, right? There's really great examples, practical examples that aren't necessarily that complicated from people leaders. So a good example, I think, of Zapier and Brandon, who's their CPO, is going to be on stage, right? He's done amazing work to actually incorporate a goal for the entire organization. Every person, employee, had a goal each quarter to adopt, right, to do something with AI, to embrace and adopt and actually use AI in some way. Right. And that's set at the highest level, right? And ultimately is help evangelizing that internally. So there's a lot of great examples. Some of them are really little, like the little things, but those little things help people start to wrap their head around it and figure out, how it actually can make a difference. So Gen AI will certainly be front and center on the agenda. Women's health will also be really front and center on the agenda this year.
Samara, I'm really super stoked about women's health. I think not enough people are talking about this. They're not talking about menopause. They're not talking about all the things that go into just showing up to work and being your authentic self. So what do you have in terms of women's health? What are we going to see?
I'm so excited to share that Chelsea Clinton is actually going to join us this year as a main stage keynote speaker. She is very passionate about maternal health, and so you will see a great conversation about maternal health on the main stage. In addition, we're planning a really fun breakfast roundtable meetup that we're calling Menopause is Hot, which is all about, sharing what many of us are going through in the workplace and need to have people to talk about it with. And so that, I think, is going to be a lot of fun as we gather on in the morning, have breakfast, connect with other leaders who are really passionate about that. Those are two really fun things, but there are also a number of other sessions thinking about championing women's health in organizations, thinking about the implications in healthcare more broadly as we think about healthcare for underrepresented populations. So really excited about the women's health being really a front and center theme this year at the event, which is going to be amazing.
Well, I'm excited to be on a podcast where we talk about menopause with Josh. I think that's amazing. It's just like my dream come true. As a woman who went through menopause 7 years ago, like I went through early, nobody was talking about it. So I think maternal health, menopause, all of these issues are so incredibly important. And I'm really grateful. And, I am going to speak at the conference, not to toot my own horn, but we're going to be talking about drinking and the intersection of work and alcohol. And I'm speaking with someone who really embodies this experience, worked at the French Laundry, had a wonderful role there, and decided to pivot in his career when he stopped drinking. And so we're going to talk about his entrepreneurial journey. Samara, there are so many interesting, nuanced ways we can get into fixing the world of work. I know you're excited about women's health. Can you talk a little bit about why Transform is committed to these nuanced topics? Because you're right, everybody is chasing Gen AI right now, but you're taking a broader approach to this. So how does Transform do this, and why?
I think as we think about advancing, right, think about really the now and next of work. We talk a lot about like people need to bring their whole authentic selves to the office, and we need to, be able to talk about, who you are, what you're going through, all of those elements. But right, we are all much more complicated, kind of woven tapestries than just individual employees, right? Gen AI, yes, absolutely a hot topic. It's going to change the face of work in many different ways, but that isn't the full story, right? Like, how do you talk about the relationship between employer and employees? And how do you talk about, right, the changing dynamics for employees without talking about, right, we spend, I don't know, the amount of time I spend right now is probably not a good stat in work versus in kind of personal time. But at the end of the day, right, it is about more than just the work. It's about us as humans. And so I think that touching on all of these topics, right, is really critical to the conversation. It's a holistic conversation, not just about the workplace, but about healthcare, about education. All of these things really come together. And I think that's the future. And so we try to ensure that as we curate the program, that we have topics really across the spectrum that hit on all of these nuances.
Whether you're a payroll pro or an employee wanting to understand your paycheck better, we've got you covered. Tune into It's About Payroll for expert insights on payroll trends and compliance, or check out It's About Your Paycheck, the go-to podcast for employees looking to understand their pay and rights. 2 great shows, 2 great hosts. Listen now, brought to you by Work Defined, where payroll meets clarity.
Hey, Samara, you talked about just how Transform is growing and transforming, right? And one of the ways is through the Transform Awards. So talk to us a little bit about the awards. Like, how are those reflecting what's currently going on in the marketplace, and what can people expect to see with those awards?
Absolutely. I love the awards program. And this is the first year that we are announcing live the winners at the event. I think it's a really great opportunity to recognize a cross-section of leaders, right? It's not just about recognizing HR leaders. So the Transform 10, they are all types of leaders. They are investors, they are business executives, they are entrepreneurs, they are people leaders. And so based on a curated set of expert judges from across the industry, right, we use those judges to help kind of curate and make decisions on the nominations. And so you'll really see a great cross section. You can actually see, I think we just announced all the finalists on social media this week. There's 20 amazing leaders that are a part of the Transform 10. And then we have, I'm going to forget the exact number right now, I think it's 15 to 16 category awards that are recognizing programs from thinking about total rewards innovation within an organization, thinking about social impact, actually recognizing and celebrating C-suite duos. So like CEO or CPO pairs that are really advancing the work within their organization. So I think it's our own like Transform flavor of awards, not the typical, just like there's a lot of other HR conferences. I feel like there's a lot of awards programs out there. I think ours has a little bit of a different twist as we think about the categories, and the fact that it's not just about people leaders, right? We want to recognize really the leaders that are advancing the work in this industry, regardless of whether they're an investor or a business executive or a people leader. So much great work. Really excited to celebrate it. We're going to have a lot of fun at the awards celebration on site at Transform 2024, including great musical performances from the community. So definitely not your typical awards announcement. You'll want to make sure you check it out.
Well, I need to know, does Josh need to pack his tux? Do I need like a gown? What's the sitch here with the awards ceremony? Are there speeches? Are there speeches, Samara?
There are not speeches. It really is a community award celebration. So there's going to be a lot of fun musical performances. We're going to present the awards in a very non-traditional way. I don't want to give it all away. So you have to come and actually see it live. But it is not at all what you expect from like an awards ceremony or an awards gala. It's all about getting the community involved to co-create and recognize each other.
Interesting. Josh, do you even own a tux? Do you own one?
No, I do not have a tuxedo, Laurie.
I'm actually
So
pretty
not an
surprised
option.
about that. So, well, Samara, it's been so awesome to hear you talk a little bit about Transform. And as we start to wrap up the conversation, I want to know what you're personally most excited about. Like, what's really, energizing for you? You've planned several of these, you've gone to many events in your life, you're a connector, but what makes you excited about this year at Transform?
I am most excited really just to see the people in the community and to see their reaction at the event. So, as Josh mentioned early on, right, the smiles and the high fives as people reunite and they haven't seen each other for a year, or the people at the end of the event that come up to me and say, wow, the conversations here really changed my life. That is what makes it all worth it, right? That's the magic that's captured at Transform. And that warms my heart and keeps me going for the rest of the year.
So Samara, let's look forward for Transform, right? What does Transform look like 3, 4, 5 years from now? What's your vision for where this goes? Because clearly you have a powerful community with some momentum behind it, but where could this go?
I think the community becomes even more global. So as we think about 3 to 5 years, right, I look forward to welcoming over 100 countries in attendance and really covering that broad intersection of workforce, healthcare, and education. So bringing in even more of the ecosystem. So HR and people become a critical component, but I can imagine a lot more healthcare industry leaders and innovators. I can imagine more education leaders and innovators. And really, I think there's a special type of magic that will result from bringing those communities together, giving them their own micro community opportunities to connect one-on-one with their peers and their small groups, but also the connections that result from bringing all of these industries together. So I think that there will be a broader ecosystem that we'll see. It will be more global. It will be an opportunity to engage in person, but there will be numerous opportunities to engage throughout the year via other platforms. You never know. Maybe there's an international event out there, right? If we're thinking 5 years out. So I look forward to those days.
Yeah, those are good problems to have. I love it. Well, before we say goodbye and get all your good stuff in terms of where to send people, I want to know, do you have any tips for me as a first-time attendee? Josh, Samara, either one, any insights for me to navigate this?
Definitely good tips for first timers. I would say make sure to wear comfortable shoes, although luckily the good news is there won't be as much walking this year as there has been in the past. Hydrate. Make sure to take time for your own self-care. Spend time with puppies and really think about the sessions and the people that you want to connect with, right? I think that the magic that happens and the difference it will make for you will come from the little moments. And so it's potentially sitting down and having tea or coffee with someone kind of off to the corner, right? And really leaning into the conversation. I think that is what will make your experience memorable and impactful. Don't try to do everything. There's too many things to pick from, honestly. There's recordings of sessions. You can always watch them later, right? Lean into really having human conversations with the people that are in the room. I think that's going to lead to the most rewarding experience for you.
I love it. That's great. Josh, what do you got for me?
All I remember was the coffee bar was where it was at last time. It was in the middle. They put it in the middle of the lobby. And I mean, that's where everybody was hanging out. And they did a nice job having some really cozy couches around there. I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but I was definitely that week. I thought their expo was second to none. They just laid it out really well. So I'm, as somebody that's been on the as somebody that's been on the vendor side, it's just, there's a lot of energy in there. And so I just would encourage anybody to go in there. Laurie, I know you're good about that, but that's where the action is. That's where the innovation is. So if you want to see what's next, go check that out. Yeah. And I think the last point I have, Laurie, is this was the first conference that I had been to in a while where I'm like, wow, it's not the same faces that I see all the time at conferences. So it's like you can put yourself in a position to meet a lot of new people. I remember being at the welcome reception. I saw a couple people who were friendly who I knew, and we were looking around like, this is a brand new audience. I think that's what's so cool about this is Samara's curated content in a way that just attracts a different group of people, and we're all of us are connectors. I know that. So it's a great opportunity just to go make new friends.
I love it. I mean, I like you as my old friend, but new friend sounds amazing. Like, sign me up. That'd be great. Well, Samara, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk to Josh and I about the Transform event. If people want more information or want to connect with you, where should we send them?
I would love for you to visit our website at transform.us. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm always happy to engage. The team is very much about personal touch, right? It is a community that's built by and for the people. And so we appreciate those one-on-one interactions. So please do reach out.
Well, we'll include all of your good stuff in the show notes. And I just want to say thanks again for being a guest on Punk Rock HR.
Thank you so much, Laurie and Josh. So good to spend time with you.
Oh, and I was going to say, Josh, you passed with flying colors. You're going to come back and guest host with me again?
Yeah. Hey, if I'm invited back, let's see how the ratings are. Right?
That's right. Okay, both of you, thanks again. It was lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Punk Rock HR. Show notes and more can be found on punkrockhr.com. This episode was expertly produced by Emerald City Productions, and we would all appreciate it if you left us a 5-star review. So go to wherever you stream your podcasts like Apple or Spotify or iHeartRadio and leave that 5-star review and your thoughts on the episodes themselves. Now, that's all for today, and I really hope you enjoyed it. We will catch you next time on Punk Rock HR.